Hi everyone, I hope you've had a great week so far. I thought that I would just sit down and film a video, one that I have been wanting to do for a really long time, and that is on how to squeeze everything you possibly can out of life's moments, the good, the bad, the big and the small. I'm just gonna mention a few preface points before I really get into the meat of what I'm gonna say today. And those are to just take everything that I say with a grain of salt, because we all have our own experiences and interpretations. This is just what I've learned from my own personal experiences in my life, and I want to share that with you guys just in case you can take any sort of advice or anything from it. This is just for your own disposal, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you are going to agree with everything that I say, and that's totally fine. And if something doesn't resonate with you, don't even try and make it, because then you probably weren't meant to, I guess, have, or it wasn't meant to have as much relevance to you, and that is fine. And the second thing that I wrote down on my notes, because I just love this topic, it's something that I'm so passionate about, is that these are the tactics that I have built a foundation with in my mind. I don't think about them anymore. I had I would say a 1 year period of just really writing down in my journal all of these things basically every single day so that they could be integrated into me. And they have. I basically positively brainwashed myself to think this way, and it's made such a difference in my life. So again, these are just foundational, the most basic surface level explanation of these things. There's so much more to it, and I can always do more videos on this topic and go more in depth if there's anything that you guys want to see me do. And then the last little point that I wanted to go over is just to keep in mind, the main idea of this video is to try and shed light on ways that you can just harness the potential that every single moment has, because all we have, seriously, and I know people say this all the time, is this moment. Everything else doesn't exist. We know we have past memories, and we know that something may be coming in the future, but also we could always die any second, which is morbid to say, but it is true. So we just never know what's gonna happen. So you just have to live it up right now. As they like to say in 2009, YOLO, okay, words to live by. Not really, but. So the first point that I wanted to make is that choosing to live your life this way requires conscious time and effort. It doesn't come easy, and it takes literally just being aware of every single thing, whether you like to see it or not, and doing something about it. A quote that my dad, because when I was growing up, this is a little backstory, he would always have a quote of the week or some saying that he had that he would just repeat to us every single time he was driving us to school. And one of the ones that have stuck with me for years now is just to be observant. As simple as that sounds, it is so easy to not be observant because there are some things that we just don't want to see, and it's so much easier to lie to ourselves about. So going back to that first statement of having to just choose to live this life, choosing a life of just squeezing everything out, whether what you squeeze out is the best thing ever or the worst thing that could happen, you just have to learn how to feel things. The last thing that I want to mention on this topic is that choosing to consciously live your life and be aware of everything, it opens doors to a life of depth and reaching lengths and being able to do things that you never thought yourself possible to do, because now you can use the energy that has maybe been holding you back and that you gave to sources outside of yourself. It all comes back to you. So you have so much more control over how everything ends up going in your life, because it all comes down to your perspective and also just choosing to see things outside of you that happen that may be bad as an opportunity to get better within. And now on to topic numero dos, and that is to know who you are. And I know that this also sounds very simple when you say it out loud, when you hear it, but in reality, I know for myself at least, I had no clue who I was, and like I had forgotten like the dreams and aspirations that I had at my lowest points. And I honestly like attribute not having any knowledge of like what I wanted and who I was as to relating to how I got into such like a deep dark pit, metaphorically. But I would highly suggest to anyone, if you have never done this before, is to just like take the time to pay attention to who you really are. Like as you're going throughout your day, question like, why do I do this thing? Like I know for me, okay, this is like a personal story, but I used to be such a people pleaser. I was such a people pleaser to the point that like whenever I was in the kitchen and got out my milk, I would put it behind all of the other milks that were in front of it so that like my roommates wouldn't have to reach all the way in the back. And then it was like it wasn't until this year that I realized that I was doing that habit unconsciously, and I was like, whoa, like it's like such a small thing, but like we just have no idea of the things that we do unconsciously because we're just so wired to a certain story that we tell ourselves. And I know that was kind of like a ridiculous example, but if you just like take the time to observe, like I said in the tactic before, what you do on a daily basis, that shows you like everything you're really going to need to know about how you can improve yourself and start to shortcut just like habits and make changes to becoming like the person and living the life that you really want to live. The reason why I'm tying this tactic back into the larger purpose of this video is how to squeeze everything you can out of life's moments, is that when you know yourself, you know exactly how your values and the larger vision that you have for yourself ties into the daily actions that you take. So if those are not in alignment with where you want to be in, like, let's say 5 years, and then you can be aware of that and make a change. It doesn't have to be like in that moment, but at least you know that, okay, this is an area where I can pivot myself a little bit and just try a little bit harder. And you just never know what those little changes will make for the trajectory of your life, which is crazy to think about. And another reason why this tactic is so important is because it saves you the time and heartache of maybe making a choice that you wouldn't have thought about if you didn't really know who you were, what you value, and like the bigger, I guess, questions that I mentioned before. And it just helps saying no become so much more easy, because then you know what is worth putting in a lot of time and effort towards, and you just basically let go and relinquish the control over things that you don't value. And our second to last tactic, which I kind of touched on at the beginning of the video and is a little morbid, is to contemplate death. And that is a very stoic thing of me to say, but it is honestly necessary to live life to the fullest. And the reason why I say that is because if you were to envision, like, also this is very morbid and I hope this happens to no one, is that what would happen if you died tomorrow? Would you be happy with the life that you lived up until this point, to say goodbye to everything that you knew, everyone that you have known and made a relationship, and everything that you've accomplished? I like to use contemplating death as sort of like a compass to just help me get over or get out of my own way, essentially, if I have like some little fears that are preventing me from doing something that has to do with the life that I want to live. I will just think about, okay, if I were to die tomorrow, would I be content with where I am right now? And if the answer is no, then I know I gotta start taking some actions towards maybe some things that I've been pushing off for a while. And I just see that as, I know it's morbid, but I see it as a way to just help for me to ironically make the most of where I am right now. And that tactic has also helped for me to just really try to not bring my personal problems and how I may be feeling into situations with other people, because I know that like one of my fears is that I will like maybe get into a fight with like a family member or something and then one of us dies, which is really sad to think about. So you just want to like think of a way to just like prioritize living in that moment and trying not to bring things from the past that might have happened in between you and another person, like holding grudges, into that current moment and just dealing with that behind closed doors. That's what I like to do, at least. Unless it's like a conflict or something where like you need both of you to involved. I'm talking about times when like maybe you're like super grumpy because you got a bad grade on a test and then you go and see your family and you're just grumpy the whole time. Like, that's not cool, because that could be the last time that you're ever together. That's how I think about it. Oh, that's so sad. Save the best for last, because I feel like this is the most important, or at least it was for me. Save the best for last, because I feel like this is the most important, or at least it was for me. And that is to connect yourself to something that is bigger than you. And for me, this was really connecting back to my spirituality and finding God again, which I'm not trying to preach or anything right now. But that was just my personal experience. I know it's not gonna be the case for everyone. To connect yourself to something bigger doesn't necessarily have to pertain to a religion. It can literally be like trying to be nice to everyone that you come into contact with in a day, to try and brighten their day. It can be something as simple as that, but just having like a mission statement and really getting clear on what you want to do and the overarching theme of what you want to have for your life is so important, because that will also guide like the values and habits and choices that you ultimately make. That ties back into the second point of knowing yourself. So when you connect yourself to something that's bigger, that will also give you like the motivation to keep working and keep like trying different things, because you know that there is something larger that you're working towards. Because I remember when like I was probably at my lowest point in life, I was not connected to something bigger. I was just reacting to everything that was happening in my life, and that was like hard, because you don't have a wider perspective on what things could be and how maybe what's happening to you right now is a challenge that you get through that can help you maybe get towards that mission. So as with all this video, it all comes down to your perspective and how you choose to view things and see things. And again, this is just my 2 cents on the topic of trying to get everything you can out of life, and in the good and the bad, the big and the small. I hope that you guys enjoyed this, and if you want to see more topics like this, just comment down below if there's anything specific. But I love talking about this stuff. Like, usually I would say I'm not too much of a talker, but when it's like a topic like this or fashion, girl, I could be talking for days. But yeah, I hope that you guys have a great week, and thank you for watching this video. I'll see you in the next one.